If you've been studying Italian for a while, you know that sometimes you hit a wall where direct translation just doesn't work. Well, today we're actually going to tear down that wall together by mastering a structure called the C impersonale. It's elegant, it is incredibly common, and by the end of our time together, it's going to completely change the way you build your Italian sentences.
You're trying to express a vague, generalized thought. You want to say something like, in Italy, people eat late, or they say Rome is beautiful, or maybe one learns with practice. In English, our sentences rely so heavily on these clunky subjects, people, they, you, one. But if you try to directly translate those literal words into Italian in these generalized contexts, it instantly marks you as a foreigner. So how do Italians actually phrase things when the subject is unknown, generic, or just kind of unimportant?
To figure that out, we're going to follow a really simple roadmap today. 1. The missing subject. 2. Singular versus plural rules. 3. Habits in the past. 4. Reflexive verbs with CC. And finally, 5. Adjectives and essere.
Let's jump right into section 1, the missing subject, or where did they go?
In English, we constantly use you generically to state a rule, right? Like, you don't smoke here. But in Italian, it becomes qui non si fuma. Notice what's completely missing there? There's no tu, no voi, no la gente, or le persone. The subject literally just vanishes into the word si. The Italian brain just doesn't need to specify who isn't smoking because the focus is entirely on the action itself.
So the secret here is the basic formula for the C impersonale. And it's exactly what it sounds like. It's impersonal. You use it when you don't specify exactly who performs the action. The formula for conversational success is remarkably simple, really. You just take the word si and you add a third-person singular verb. Si mangia, for one eats. Si studia, for people study. It is a plug-and-play formula that's going to instantly elevate your fluency. Once you get the hang of it, you're going to start noticing this structure everywhere in spoken and written Italian. It is the go-to grammar for general habits, like observing that in Italia si beve molto caffè, people drink a lot of coffee in Italy. It's used for rules and instructions, like non si usa il telefono, meaning you can't use your phone. And it's absolutely perfect for opinions and common beliefs, like passionately debating the culinary arts. Si dice che Napoli abbia la migliore pizza. They say Naples has the best pizza. In all these contexts, those literal English subjects just gone.
Moving right along to section 2, singular versus plural rules and the plural twist.
Okay, so the crucial point is that while the basic formula uses a singular verb, everything changes when we introduce plural objects into the mix. With a singular object, like pizza, the verb is singular, si mangia la pizza. But if people eat many desserts, molti dolci, the verb transforms instantly to match the plural, si mangiano molti dolci. The exact same goes for languages. Si parla italiano, but si parlano molte lingue.
Now, if you open up a traditional grammar textbook, you'll see this plural shift referred to as the si passivante. But honestly, you really don't need to get bogged down in the grammatical jargon. The only practical, actionable thing you need to take away from this is a simple rule of agreement. Always match your verb to whatever noun comes directly after it. If the noun is singular, the verb is singular. If the noun is plural, the verb is plural. Keep that in mind, and you'll be golden.
Let's hit section 3, habits in the past, time traveling with the imperfetto.
Following this structure back through time beautifully illustrates just how flexible it is. We use the imperfecto tense to talk about old habits in the past. In English, we use kind of clunky phrases like people used to or everyone would, but Italian captures this nostalgia so elegantly. Want to say people smoked a lot in 1980s restaurants? It's simply negli anni 80 si fumava molto nei ristoranti. Or to say that as children, people used to play in the street. Da bambini si giocava per strada. You just combine si with the imperfecto verb, and boom, you instantly transport your listener to the past.
Next up is section 4, reflexive verbs and the CC structure. We're calling this one the repetition problem.
Think about reflexive verbs for a second, like svegliarsi or rilassarsi. In the third person, they already use the pronoun si, right? So if you try to make them impersonal by just adding another si, you end up with an awful stuttering sound, si sveglia. The Italian language famously values musicality, and it absolutely hates awkward phonetic clashes like this. To fix this terrible CC problem, Italian grammar gives us a really smooth, satisfying workaround. You simply change that first C to chi. This creates the highly natural-sounding structure chi, si, plus the verb.
So here's how this works in practice. In the present tense, to say people wake up early, you use the reflexive verb svegliarsi, apply our new rule, and say ci si sveglia presto. And the cool part is, this rule is perfectly consistent across time. If you want to use the imperfecto to talk about how much people used to relax on vacation, you use rilassarsi and say, in vacanza ci si rilassava di più. No stuttering, just smooth, native-level flow.
And finally, section 5, adjectives and essere, focusing on states of being.
Let's look at this sentence. Quando si è stanchi, è meglio riposare. When people are tired, it's better to rest. Notice what's happening here? The verb ca is staying firmly in the third-person singular, but the adjective, stanchi, bumps right up to the masculine plural. Why? Because the si impersonale implies people, or everyone as a generic group. In Italian, when a group is generic or mixed, adjectives always default to the masculine plural form. It's a tiny detail, I know, but getting this right makes a massive difference in how natural you sound.
Now, interestingly, there is actually an exception to that masculine default. Compare these two phrases. The top one is our generic group. In vacanza si è rilassati. On vacation, people are relaxed. Masculine plural. But consider a situation where you are explicitly referencing an all-female group. Let's say a group of women are complaining about a long day. They might say, noi ragazze quando si è stanche. We girls when we are tired. Because the context is explicitly and entirely feminine, that masculine default magically shifts to the feminine plural, stanche.
And really, that brings us to the core takeaway of this explainer. By embracing these structured rules, the missing subjects, the plural twists with direct objects, the time travel with the imperfecto, that neat ci si workaround, and the adjective agreements, you're entirely upgrading your Italian. You're no longer just directly translating clunky English thoughts word for word in your head. You're actually building sentences the exact way a native speaker does, prioritizing the action over an unnecessary subject. So, keep all these formulas we've uncovered today in the back of your mind. The next time you want to tell a friend, one eats well in Italy, how are you going to phrase it? I challenge you, drop those English subjects entirely and just let the Italian C do the talking.